Keith Ferrazzi, welcome to What's Possible.
Ilene, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm a big fan.
Thank you. And for our guests, I'm going to tell you what we're going to be talking about. But before we dive in, we're going to talk a little bit more to Keith about some other stuff. So today we're talking about why high-performing teams, not individuals, are the future of leadership. However, Keith and I just talked about we have a lot that we need to cover. We've got tons of groundwork. So we're going to go in a bunch of different directions, but that is going to be the overarching theme. So Keith, before we dive in, I was watching I don't know if it was Instagram. I was just telling Keith I've watched podcasts, Instagram, I've read his books. What really is going on with you right now? I think I got that from you on your Instagram. You said, don't ask people how they are. Ask them what's really going on
Yeah.
with them. So Keith, what's really going on with you right
Mm,
now?
well, I have 6 sons, and my youngest
Well,
son is struggling right now in recovery, addictive recovery, and we're struggling as a family to identify what is the borderline between enabling behavior on our part and
mhm.
creating a safety net for him to grow. So that's if you really wanted to know, you asked me the question,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
that
I wanted
that's
to know.
the
I
answer.
did want to
Um,
know. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So that's a big issue. On a professional context, like everybody should have, I've thrown myself headlong about 5 years ago into looking at how AI is transforming not only uh, the the um, the workplace, but ways of working. So we've
Yeah.
taken the book that you're about to talk about and we've agentified it. And how do agents actually become members of your team, reinventing how we collaborate in organizations? And that's been very exciting. And I'm struggling right now to figure out, do we take these agents that we're using to reinvent collaboration, um, and to make teams faster, bolder, more inclusive, etc.? Do we take these agents and just use them as a part of our services? Or do we go to market with them separately? And the last thing I want is to create a new company right now in my life. That's not my desire, but I'm being drawn and pulled to feeling like this technology is powerful. And so I hope everybody out there is coding. We all should be coding. We should be taking everything that we're doing and turning it into agentic pairs. That's what I've been doing in a professional context.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, a lot there. First off, my heart is with your family. I didn't know you had 6 sons to begin
Thank you.
with. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking of your family. Before we dive in, and it's funny, I have the AI page is opened on my book right here that's one of the things I wanted to dive into. So we will go there. Let me ask you though, because you started off really real, authentic, and not a bullshit answer of, oh, I'm great, life's great, and it got real. How do you take care of yourself when you're being pulled in so many directions? You are a thought leader in this space. You're coaching the most senior leaders at the largest organizations, and you also have something really real going on in your family. How do you take care of you?
Mm. I'm very lucky that this past year I got married. Um, and, at
Congratulations.
almost 60 years of age, I have found the love of my life. Um,
Oh,
Not that prior loves weren't extraordinary in my life, but I am so blessed. And so that's probably the most important thing. And like, if I keep that one relationship strong, all else is great. So that's number one. Number two, just like everybody should, I refuse to spend a day without getting exercise. Um, I probably do need to meditate. That's not something that I do as frequently as I should, but I'm a glutton for being a seeker. I'm always looking for ways to ground myself or raise higher. Um, like any opportunity. I was in New York the other day, and I was talking to the guy who's the original check into WeWork, um, and he was like, "Oh, he's an Orthodox Jew," and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't meet at this time. I'm going to go to prayers." And I'm like, "Do they let a non-Jew come to Jewish high prayers at 5:25?" And is like, "Yes, go." I'm like, "I'm there. I'm there." So anything that I could possibly seek, that ended up turning into a Kabbalah course with my son. And I will just do anything. I believe that all of us in leadership today need to be leveling up by 30% every single year. in your competencies, in your skills, in your style. If you're not purposely saying, I need to be 30% better every single year, then you're falling behind. And so I think if you have that mindset of being a seeker, then you'll take care of yourself and your family.
Okay, I kind of feel like we could end the podcast right now. That is that is the secret to life. You just nailed it. It's movement, it's deep, real connections, and it's stay curious and up level who you are. I love it.
Yeah.
But we're not going to end the podcast right now. There's too much good stuff. So let's dive in. Gosh. Okay. I want to go to the AI because you started with the AI. So let's go there and then we'll go into a few different directions. When we think about this, your book, Never Lead Alone, is almost 2 years old at this point. Is that right? Yeah. Just a
Yeah, year and a half, November.
year
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in here, you say AI sounds like Einstein is moving into your office. That will happen eventually. But today, the reality is closer to having an army of thousands of multi skilled associates on hand, ready to execute at speed and scale exactly what you need to do. And like any intern, it takes time to give that kind of direction. And you've got to give very specific directions, at least today, not tomorrow. So you even acknowledge that things are going to be different, you know, by the time tomorrow hits after we read these words. And now we're 2 years later. AI is at warp speed. What are your thoughts and where are you going with AI?
So two things. Number one, we no longer have a set of interns. We now have a set of PhDs working with us.
Yep.
So the leveling up has already been there.
Yeah.
Separate, every single human should by now have at least an agent that is co-creating their life with them. And I'm not just talking about a digital twin. I'm talking about the things that you're doing, the role that you have. It's interesting. I'm a leader, I have a team of individuals, but every individual in my team now is a leader and a manager.
Yeah.
So every individual in my team is a player coach. So we went through decades where every manager also had to do and manage. Remember, we flattened organizations and every
Yep.
manager had to be a player coach. And that was challenging to them. Well, and now every human has to be a player coach. You have to both do your thing and coach your AI at the same time and co-create with your AI. At the same time, we've got to start learning the leadership traits of being a good leader in an AI environment with AI. We're studying 200 AI human pairs right now and AIs in teams right now and observing where are the frustrations, where are the difficulties. We're extrapolating that into how to build better AI, number one, how to prepare humans to work better with AI, number two, and three, how to build the future of human AI relations. So not HR anymore. How do
Right.
we build human resources with AI, and how do we build HR for AI? And so this is the stuff we're looking at. The other thing is there's an entire orchestrational layer that people have struggled with. So you have a team, right? Yeah.
Right.
I suspect, I don't know if you have a chief of staff, but if you had a chief of staff, what you would hope for that individual to do would be to keep track of all major projects you're working on, make sure that the critical next meeting has the critical items on the agenda, holding everybody accountable, making sure that you're stitching together the interdependencies among your team to create new value because of the interdependencies. AI can do that. And we're creating AI that is like the AI chief of staff, facilitating the agendas. We're creating AI that that define what a team is. Teams aren't org charts. Teams are, and that's the first chapter of my book. Your team is not your org chart. It's who you need to get the job done. And so AI can tell you that. You go into, if you're a Slack user, there's a thing called Slackbot. And every time you start a project, you ask Slackbot, who should I be working with on this? And Slack will scour all of the individuals who've been talking about this subject in Slack within your organization and tell you who your team is. Right. So we have to be able to recognize that the way we collaborate today has been broken for decades. And that's what I called for in the book.
Yeah.
AI will help you fix it, but you also have to give into the fact that you need to collaborate differently. So chapter 3 of the book talks about how the average room of 12 people 4 people think they're heard on any given topic. With my book and AI, the average group of 12 people don't even need to go into a meeting to collaborate on a critical initiative. Everybody's opinions can be heard. AI can tell you, based on everybody's opinions, where the alignments and disagreements are. AI can tell you a potential suggested corrective plan, and then you can decide if you even need a meeting. Like, we're doing this. I'll give you an example. May I keep ranting, or would you have
I
another
love it.
question? You
No,
good?
no, keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. I'm loving it. Yeah.
All right. So this one company had launched a new business which was struggling, and I had the leader of that business. Normally, we would say, okay, chapter 3 of the book again, it's chapter 3 of the book talks about how do you move an organization from conflict avoidant to courageous candor and a challenge culture.
Yep. Yep.
And I would normally do this thing called a stress test, where the
Mhm.
person would show up, they would present, here's what's going on in the business, and everybody would stress test. So I would assign a challenge culture by people, but what I did was I said, I want you to film a 5-minute video, on Zoom, and it's where has the business been successful? Where have we struggled this past year? What do you think your corrective plan is? And we sent that out to 100 people in the company who were adjacent to that business. And we said to those 100 people, shoot a video or a recording or a type if you want, but tell us, what is this person missing? Like, where's he wrong?
Mhm.
What bold idea could help the business? And where might you be willing to help? We sent it out to 100 people. All of that got scraped into our collaboration agent, and we snapped our fingers, pushed a button, and it gave a 3-month corrective plan for the business, having taken all of that insight from 100 different people. We never needed a meeting. The guy looked at the plan and was like, holy shit, this is so much better than my plan. Changed it a little bit, and then shot a video back to the 100 and said, thank you. And by the way, we also asked questions of the 100 in the query of the agent. Where was their misalignment around the 100? Where was their alignment? So he came back to the group and said, hey, 100 of you gave me insight. Here's where you were aligned. Here's where you're misaligned. Here's what the plan was. Here's how I altered it. Right. And we're going forward. All done asynchronously. Never needed a meeting.
Wow. Wow. And is the AI, is that an internal one or just using one, a chat, Claude, what have you? Is it one that is completely designed for that particular team?
Everything I just said Everything I just said, your listeners could hijack using their own tools,
Oh,
a
yeah.
transcription engine, Claude, Zoom. Everything could be done using hijacking everything you have available to you for almost free. Um, we have designed an agent to do this for our clients. And now we're trying to figure out by the way, if anybody's listening and you want to be the CEO of a business that designs this agentic collaboration level, I would be happy to get the funding for it, but I just don't want to build this business. We give this away as a part of our coaching and consulting. Um, I don't want to run another business on this topic, but I'm very excited if somebody else does that wants to partner with me. So anybody want to reach out to us, let us know. Reach out, just send us an email, ask for Gavin. Gavin is our president and CEO. He's trying to figure out how do we go to market with this.
Okay, I have somebody who I just had on the podcast who I'm gonna talk I gotta have him listen to this.
Yeah,
All right,
please.
love that. Okay, so one quick question on that, and then we'll move into things outside of AI. Do you consider AI a teammate? There's always this debate of AI is not a human.
100%.
At the same
Not even a
time,
question.
it's doing not a question, but people are
Not a
inviting
question.
AI as a teammate into the meeting. What are your thoughts?
Mm, most people are most people are just using tools. They're so far away from building agentic teammates.
Yeah.
Look, if you think about AI on a scale of 1, which is like I'm using Claude, right, to 6, which is this agent is independently doing work, and I plug into what the agent is doing as if it was a coworker,
Right.
right? So Bank of New York has a series of these coworkers that are named and human. There was a company called Work Fusion that was doing this years ago in the legal and financial space. A buddy of mine was running that company. And, you know, that there's a difference between a 1 to a 6 level agent. So the 6 level agents are teammates. The 1 level
Right.
agents are tools. So it depends upon what you're building and how you're
Yeah.
using it, right?
Yeah.
Like what I'm kind of designing is an AI chief of staff that will be your thinking engine as you're driving your strategy and work forward
And being able to do it independently at some point.
independently. Well, it already
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I say
That
independently, they're independently doing the mechanism, then they'll come back to you and say, hey, here's the input. I need more input. I need another 5-minute video on this. Where does this stand? Give us an update. I'll get it stress tested.
so when we think about this, there's that fear of there aren't going to be any jobs. AI is going to do all the jobs. That's not we know that's not going to happen, but we also know that AI is taking up hours and hours and hours. Well, so for those who are just listening, Keith is like, stop there, Eileen." So we know it's taking hours of our brain power and doing things for us. So we do need to think about, okay, what does the human do? And where are we going to now apply the human to
Yeah.
impact work? So thoughts on that?
Well, I do believe that societally, we're going to have at least a 2 to 5 year trough when more jobs are lost than the abundance of AI will take care of. There will be
Yeah.
social disruption in jobs. I'm absolutely confident of that. And I've got an initiative from our nonprofit right now that's pulling together some of the most brilliant minds around how do we plan for the social disruption and how do we create an American social safety net, because we don't have one. China's engineered this in they will just take the money from one place and put it to another. We don't have that. We have nothing like that. And so there will be job loss. And I believe we're going to stack up unemployment rates to a place where it will be challenging for society. And I want to make sure that
Yeah.
we've got a plan for that. So do a
Yeah.
lot of other people that I'm working with. So there's that. If you're but what's the underlying question? The underlying question is, where is human loop? It just evolves every day.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning,
Yeah.
of course you were in the loop because you were just using a tool. And now little by little, the question, I was talking to um, Bill McDermott from ServiceNow, and these guys are envisioning the future of the independent organization. Like
Yeah.
what part of the organization more increasingly is independent? And that
Yeah.
is right now, we're not imagining that. Similar to when I wrote
Right.
that book, I was talking about having a thousand interns at your disposal, right? Well,
Yep.
that's silly today. We have PhDs at our disposal
Yeah.
that aren't just giving specific direction; they're going off and doing things. Um,
Yeah.
so this is changing so quickly. That's less than 2 years. So the reality is, the human in the loop is a big question, and every organization. Look, here's the one thing I will tell you. When I work with the kids out in Stanford who are starting AI companies that I'm an advisor to, these kids are starting businesses and they're assuming they need no humans. They start businesses, they build agents, but they put a human in to observe, monitor, coach, and direct the agent with the assumption that the human will get out of there soon. Like
Wow.
this job of the human is to coach the agent, and then the
Wow.
human will move on to do other agents,
And
and
do
eventually
yeah.
you this will be autonomous, right? Whereas I would go and work with a big, tech company or a manufacturing company, they've got 5,000 call center reps and they're asking, or they have 5,000 people in in supply chain. They're asking the question, how does AI make those 5,000 people better and maybe reduce them by 30%? That's just a totally different way of thinking. They're grounded in this
Yeah.
assumption that you need 5,000 people. And so they're not building from a white sheet of paper as they should. And
Yeah.
there's a wonderful company called A.T. Kearney, which is one of the leading companies out there on supply chain, and they're looking at autonomous supply chains. and investing in
Wow.
technologies and ventures,
Yes.
bringing autonomous supply chains. That's the way you have to be thinking. We can't be thinking
Yeah.
about how do I have this 10 people? What tools am I going to use to make them more effective? No, it's like what agents can we build to make the process even better than it is today?
Wow.
I'm working with a government agency. We're coaching the US government as it's going through its transformation, both using this book, High Performing Teams, also figuring out how to collaborate more effectively, and looking at some of the breakthrough best practices in AI. And there's a particular agency which has a very large call center for the US population. And that could either be re engineered, or you could ask yourself, what if that agency has all of its services delivered from here, right? And if
Yep.
all of its services are delivered from here, when do I even need a call center?
Yeah.
Like if my
Yeah.
agent is my wake up best friend, I mean, I'm not saying what agency it is. It's an agency that we would use. And
Right.
what if my interaction and my exchange, et cetera, it's now there. And that agent, why would I need to pick up the phone to call a call center? Um, Only at the rarest, like, can you even get a call center if you wanted to at Amazon?
Oh gosh, no.
Like, you can't, right?
No,
Why? Because they
there's no
built
way.
the platform, right? But we kind of accept it because they built the platform to be so elegant and seamless for us that
Right.
we don't need a call center, right?
Right.
That's the future. We need to ask ourselves, so why do you need a call center? You won't. I mean, I bet there is a wormhole. There's some golden key for Amazon that will get you a call center rep person. I'm sure they exist, but they purposely hide it from you because the reality is the
Yeah.
platform's good enough that you don't need it.
Yeah. So then I guess my question where this all takes me to is, you're a leadership expert. People seek you out to give keynotes, keynote addresses, to work with the CEO of the biggest, the largest. You're working with the US government. You're working with Bhutan. You are well sought out by the very biggest, okay? So, my question here is, you're sought out because you're teaching people how to be a strong leader, which now we're talking about really, it's about teamship more than leadership. But now we take all of that out and we say it's really about AI. So, what is next for Keith Ferrazzi if that's the case?
So I'd like to first of all, thank you so much. It was very generous. Let me dial back some of that and just give a slightly different language if I was describing myself. I believe there's lots of people out there who are great leadership coaches. I don't consider myself that. I think we've over-indexed on leadership. Leadership has this, the way that currently it's taught, leaders are at the hub and spoke of a team. And it's about how do I hold this team accountable? How do I give the team, give individuals feedback? I think a leader needs to pause and say, that's not my job anymore. My job is, how do I get the team to give each other feedback? How do I get the team to hold each other accountable? Sure, you as a leader are going to have some element of that on your own, but you need to ask your team and shape your team to step up and meet you in leadership. And that is a massive unlock. One of the interesting things we've seen when you take organizations like some of these AI native companies starting from scratch as AI, they don't have org charts. They barely they don't look like traditional organizations. They have initiatives, and then they have people and agents being formed around initiatives to achieve breakthrough outcomes. And then they dissipate and they have initiatives, and you can be on two or three different initiatives being shaped and formed. It's very holocratic is the word, holocracy. And it's beginning to emerge. And the question I find interesting is, what's the system to support a holocratic set of humans and agents working
Hmm.
together to achieve breakthrough outcomes? And that's interesting to me. Look, my job is always to say one tick ahead of other people so that I can turn around, and I don't teach, I only coach. Sure, when I'm on stage giving keynotes, I love that. I might be teaching, but even my keynotes, I try to make them workshops so that people leave doing
Sure.
something different. But But I look back and I'm like, if my job is to be out ahead so that I can look back and I can coach people forward. And before AI happened, I've been for 20 years helping teams be massively unlocked by understanding the value of the team, holding each other accountable, lifting each other up, pushing each other, innovating for each other, the team having an agenda of interdependency and crossing the finish line together. Now, all of a sudden, you just added AI to the equation, and I
Mhm.
just have adopted a bunch of new teammates
Yep.
and chiefs of staff and organizers around what I did. The next phase of this is just consistently evolving, and it's exciting to me. I think there's entirely
Yeah.
new org designs and structures we never thought of before, and I plan to keep researching and writing them. And if I just got to keep being out ahead until maybe I'm the last guy there saying, "All right, it's time for me to stop." Now I'll soak into abundance like everybody else and let AI do everything.
I don't think people are gonna let you stop. You're gonna have some major boundaries. One thing that well, I was gonna say one thing that I love that you said. There were a lot that I love that you said in this book, and I hope our listeners have either already read the book, and if not, they're gonna get it right after this show. I love how
Okay.
you say when I ask people about their team, you want them to say which team because we get stuck on
Yeah.
our team. And it goes back to the org chart, obviously. And we work with organizations where we'll come in and a leader will have us work with his entire leadership team or what have you, or her leadership team. And
Yeah.
people get stuck in that box. And so, can you talk for just a quick moment about why you
Sure.
think it's so critical that we have different teams?
Well, look, I think for a long time now, I've been celebrating the fact that we don't work in org charts. We work in matrixed networks around objectives. So, you've got a major new initiative you're launching. The people that have to make that happen aren't just the people under your control. They're the people that you're handing the thing off to, people you're getting inputs on from. If you're in procurement, if you're just trying to maximize procurement, you're minimizing the fact that sales forecasting may be poor. You're minimizing that manufacturing scheduling and supply chain may be poor, and you've got to be responsible for the end to end. And that's what I think AI forces you to do it if you do it well. So it's that awakening. The team is about critical initiatives. I think that the future of an org chart is not having anything to do with functions or divisions. I think it has to do with goals aligned to networks of people. And that's what I've been
Mm,
encouraging the work days and others to design around. Um, it's funny because, go back 20 years, this book was 20 years old, Never Eat Alone. And you go back 20 years and I wrote a book about networking.
yeah.
Ironically, today, and maybe this is why I'm relevant, we work in networks today.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's one of the reasons why, I think, and then I wrote a book called Leading Without Authority, which is up there, which is how does one lead without the authority to lead? And that's everybody now.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and that all of these were on their way to my core opus, which is Never Lead Alone, which is really all 25 years of research of high performing teams. I would say that I wanted to go back and give a hat tip to this book. For anybody out there that's
Yeah.
read this book, seen this book, we just launched. I felt I had ignored it. Like like you've already gotten a sense of me. It's like, okay, I've learned that, I published that, I coach that. What's next? What's next? What's
Yeah.
next? And I realized, 5 books later, 20 years later, I look back and I'm like, that book is so damn powerful in people's lives still. I need to
Yes.
honor it. So we just launched a community. It's called Beyond Connection. And I think you could reach it at beyondconnection.com or connectedsuccess.com. Maybe you could put it in the show notes.
Yep.
But this is
Absolutely.
really powerful for me. It's a group of folks who have made a commitment to radically elevate the relationships of their lives, whether it's for the sake of their promotion inside of a company, for the sake of a leader, enlisting a movement, for the sake of an entrepreneur raising money and swashbuckling in the world, in the sake of a father wanting to build a great family. Our relationships are the most critical element, and they will be for a very long time. I'm interested in the relationships we have with agents, but the relationships we have with people are so important, and they are core of what we are. So it's an 8-week course that it's a community learning, peer-to-peer learning. We celebrate at my home at the end of it every 8 weeks for a graduation dinner. So really proud of it, and invite anybody to come and check it out.
I love it. I was hoping that we would get to that. I had asked Keith right when we started, I said, "What is something new and fresh that you haven't talked about yet?" And he said, "Beyond Connections" was the thing that has captured your heart and soul right now. So Keith, what
Yeah.
a treat for me to get to have you on What's Possible. Let's leave our listeners with one word of wisdom. If you could pull everything together, and I know when in Never Lead Alone, you said this is your smallest book in terms of page numbers because it really captures everything that you teach
Mhm.
organizations. And if you were
Yeah.
now to take that
Yeah.
small book and say, here's that one thing, people, that you must do, what would that be?
Let me do 2 things, if you don't mind. One will
Love
be a
it.
little indulgent, but the first one is one to you is this. Who is the team of individuals that for every one of your dreams and goals, who are those teams of individuals that you need to enlist to achieve that? And then I want you to create a social contract among that group of people, some of whom might not have even realized they were on your team, but I want you to invite them in to co-create, and I want you to invite them in to go on a journey with you that will just kick ass. And that, taking a hill together, but then in the process, they'll lift each other up. I call it co-elevation. I want you to live your life in co-elevation. Find the people around you, make a commitment to a shared mission around whatever that is, but make a
Mm,
commitment to leveling each other up in the process. That is the
love.
key. Second thing is, this is an old picture, but this is Daniel. Um, little silly picture of
Oh,
him
I
when he
can
was
see he's got a hat on.
probably
Yeah, I love it.
13, little hat in his eyes.
That's
Um,
so cute.
I put it right next to my desk because I would love for any of you to keep him in your prayers. He needs all the help he can get right now.
I sending it all my way or all your way, all my energy and love. Wow. And for those who could not
Thank
see, that is a sweet picture. Wow. Gosh, Keith,
you.
you've got so much going on personally, professionally, and for you to take time out of your day to be with us is truly a gift, and I'm deeply grateful. So thank you for being with us on What's Possible.
Truly my pleasure. Thanks for having me.